What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon.
I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close.
What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with Aaron Patterson. How are you doing today, Aaron?
Dynamic, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. And I got some great news for you today, Aaron. Today, we are joined by my very favorite member of the audience. And why is my favorite audience member here today? Well, this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate syndicators, buyers, sellers, investors, and all that kind of stuff. And you may ask, why would I do such a silly thing? Well, if you've ever heard of private off-market deals, also sometimes called 506B deals, you might know that you're not allowed to share those deals unless you have a documented prior substantive relationship, or else the SEC will get ants in its pants. But before we get too excited about business and where my guest fits into all these kinds of things, Aaron, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself?
Sure, why not? I'm kind of new getting into real estate investment, but I'm digging in deep, trying to learn what I can. I want to be able to be, an informative person to bring value, bottom line boost for people who do business with me. And in fact, actually, I came up with something pretty hot just since I met you in that chance encounter earlier, Dan, but I can't talk about it yet. It's not ready for the marketplace, but it's going to be H-O-3-T's hot. That kind of hot.
I love it. I love it. So that brings me to the first section, though, which is the distinct motivations. Before I get to that, I got to say, but wait, check your eight. Aaron, I don't know if you can see through the camera and down into the audience's device there, but there might be this big, hideous subscribe button, and maybe they should, like do something. Okay, it's a stupid joke, but whatever.
Oh, tickle it. Tickle it. Just give it a little tickle.
Give it a tickle. Exactly. A smack and a pinch. Good stuff. The distinct motivations. I've talked to all sorts of different commercial real estate players, investors, operators, buyers, sellers, syndicators, all that kind of stuff. And everybody has their own unique why, but I found that they pretty neatly fit into these five categories. And the reason why it's so important to know what people's motivations are is because these deals take time. It takes months just to close a deal. There are plenty of risks involved, and I need to know what's going to make somebody follow through with it. So I go through these in every episode. The first motivation that some people have is preservation of purchasing power. What on earth is that? Well, some people already have a portfolio of assets, and the way that they make ends meet is from the proceeds of ownership. So why would somebody who doesn't need to work make another acquisition? Well, there are a couple reasons. One is if inflation rears its ugly head, eats away from the purchasing power of the cash flow, it's time to make another acquisition. Other than that, it's like if there's signs of distress, if they can buy at a steep discount, like if there's an asset crash, that's the time when these people are going to make their jump. But that's not where I am. What I'm up to is trading time directly for wealth. And the reason for that is because I got a background in technology. Specifically, it's the CRM industry and the online funnels industry. I've had an agency for that since 2011. And since 2014, I started doing that for real estate people. My old boss was doing 10 real estate transactions per month. And I was watching as a high income, high wage earner, high salary earner, I was paying more in tax than anybody else, where my boss was making way more, but paying way less tax. So it hit me, why can't I pivot and find something where I'm getting rewarded in the form of deployed capital, aka equity, instead of wage and then giving it half to the government? So that's what I'm up to. But that's too abstract for some people, especially youngsters. A lot of them, they want to regain control of their schedule. Maybe that means they want to work fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or fewer hours per week. But regardless, it means they want to scale back eventually, hustling now to get that ability to have that time freedom. And that's why some people are doing this, but that's not
And
everybody.
some
Some
people
people,
not so young looking to do the same.
right, there you go. But some people, what they're up to, they are driven more by ambition. They want that generational wealth. They want to buy their entire hometown so that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And that's fantastic because they're going to be hustling into their 90s, making them a very valuable part of any of these syndication teams. But that's not everybody. Some people are going to stick with it, not so much because of their own legacy, more is because they've picked a sector of society, or maybe it's animals or the environment, or they want to send people to space. Who knows what it is, but they've decided that they need to make this big impact, and there's a financial component to that. They want that equity multiple so that they have the net worth to make a big difference, and that's why they're making their acquisitions. So, Aaron, of those 5 different motivations, what combination of those would you say describes you best?
Um, I would say that I'm sort of like an invert of the young person trying to retire early. I mean, I kind of took an unusual path. I was a skier for a number of years. I lived in alpine ski towns, living, champagne lifestyle on a beer budget, kind of cruising along like that and having a wonderful time. I was in LA trying to make it as an actor for a while. So I've had an interesting go. But, I'm ready to work really hard. I got to work really hard for 5, 8, 10 years. And then, I'm done. So that's part of it. And then I do have a pretty strong desire to leave some sort of a memorial, essentially for my mom. My mom, I'm not a really religious person. I know some people are really motivated by that, and I don't take away anyone else's beliefs. I just don't sign up. But um, if that whole thing about like, oh, somebody's a saint, I don't know what it takes to be a saint, but I think my mom would come real close on the qualifications. Um, so I want to leave something in a form of a scholarship that could be ongoing. I like to fund a scholarship fund for early childhood education administrators and business types. Because my mom went back to college, got her master's in her 40s. She had been already operating the county on Long Island. There's 2 counties on Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk. So she was a Suffolk County director for about 20 Head Start programs. So she handled a multi-million-dollar budget and did that sort of a thing. And but always growing up, man, if somebody would call her like they didn't have food in the house, she'd scrap through our refrigerator and the cabinets and grab some food. We'd stop at the store, buy some more, go take people food. That would be 3 nights a week. That'd be like a usual. And then, whatever else. Our clothes didn't end up going to the Salvation Army because somebody needed them. If we outgrew something, somebody was getting them, and on and on and on and on. So she was she was all about helping others. While I've been busy, kind of, coasting along on my good looks and charm, she'd done a lot more. Cancer took her out of the running early, so she didn't get to finish her own legacy. And, I've not been able to do anything substantial up till now. But if in 5 years, 3 years, somewhere in there, I can get my first scholar, put them through college, put them on the path, give them the, image to follow that my mom had, that would be wonderful. So keep an eye out for the Marion L. Simons Patterson Early Childhood Education Business Leader Scholarship. That's what it'll be called, or something very similar to that. And that's a big motivation. So if I could, keep her name alive, that would be more. I'm about to start crying.
That's a great
That
call.
would be more than anything.
I love it. I love it. But that brings me to the next section, the next question, which is the tolerance for risk assessment. And if you've ever been involved in a 506B deal, the securities attorney who really ought to be in the works here, they would have required that you fill out this questionnaire. It's a suitability questionnaire based on your finances. It's got all sorts of invasive questions. But I found that when I went through these suitability questions, there was one in particular that I thought didn't really do what it was meant to do as far as giving you usable information. And that was regarding the tolerance for risk. And as I mentioned, there are plenty of risks involved in this industry, just like any other business. And what I have to answer that is a fill in the blanks question. The question is, there are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. So Aaron, that can be inside real estate, it can be outside of real estate. What's too risky for you?
I don't know, dealing cocaine's not gonna get you
Yeah.
far, so I'm gonna stay away from that.
Yeah, that's a heavy investment, and yeah, it's there's no cash flow unless you actually flip it. I love that. That is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, stay away. Stay away. Don't deal
Don't
drugs.
don't don't
Just
just
say
set
no.
up like a subscribe sandwich like that. This is my little segue here. This thing kills me every single time. It reminds me that it's time to bring out the Dan Does Deals Commercial Core Competency Cube with the 6 different core roles
Oh.
in a commercial real estate deal. And in every episode
Mhm.
of Chance Encounters, I go through all 6 sides. The reason being that you need to be able to do 2 things if you're going to get ahead in this business. One is you're going to want to understand how people like my guest Aaron fit into this business. But more importantly, you have to learn how to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate deals, or else your future career is kind of dead in the water. But if you want your own copy to practice this on your friends and family, it's absolutely free. You just go to dandoesdeals.com. There's a button with my face on it. You can download it and print it out. And like a complete dummy, I committed the cardinal sin of digital marketing, which is I gave away my freebie without asking for any contact information. You should never ever do that, but I'm doing it anyway because I want you to practice. But let's go through the 6 different roles here. It just takes a couple minutes. The first one is the repositioner, who's an acquisitions person. They're looking at all sorts of different properties. They're doing all sorts of paperwork. What's that paperwork, you may ask? Probably not. Anyway, there's a
What
fancy
kind of
word for it.
paperwork is that, Dan?
Exactly. It's called underwriting, and it means you're doing the math. You're doing the arithmetic to find out, is this property even making the amount of money that the seller slash broker claims it is? Because probably not. But they're called repositioners. It's a little bit of an unusual word. Some people call these guys investors and these guys investors and those guys investors. But repositioners specifically are thinking about how can they change how the properties run to find more upside. And there are a few different ways that they can do that. One that's a little bit counterintuitive, unintuitive, is they need to have a big relationship with financiers, all sorts of people who only deal with paper and money. They are not on the GP team. They are simply lenders. And why do repositioners have to know so many lenders and financiers? Well, if they can secure a more advantageous loan, that goes straight to the profitability of the building. So that's why they need to know lots and lots of financiers. But the first place that is more intuitive that a repositioner is going to look is more efficient operations to stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rent and mowing lawns, shoveling snow in my case. What you the things that I contribute for operations are through the automation, through my CRM funnels and whatnot, different materials for the asset management and the property managers. But the other thing is, even if you are dealing with bigger properties like the ones that I focus on, and you're outsourcing to a property management company, if you have a vacancy rate problem, somebody with some serious marketing chops has to step in and fill those units, because vacancy is the enemy, full stop. But there's only so much you can do with operations to make more upside. So the repositioner will frequently get a contractor team involved to upgrade the units. The idea being, if the units are nicer, then the next residents would be more than happy to pay more in rent than the previous ones. And so that way you've got some baked in upside. But of course, you got to be really careful spending money on contractors and construction, because maybe they'll, draw out the clock, maybe they'll drag their heels a bit, maybe they'll use substandard parts. And if you're like me, see, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I'm from the internet, which means I rely on locals, boots on the ground, somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. I'd still be stuck at an airport in an hour or two. So having those boots on the ground who can be there in an hour or so, they're absolutely vital to make it work. But when the repositioner has found an ideal property and assembled this team, they're going to turn around to the financiers and say, hey, I got this property in mind. It's 350 units and it's tens of millions of dollars. You don't have, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars you want to lend us, do you?
Snap 'em off, baby. Snap 'em.
Right, exactly.
Make it rain.
But
Make
the
it
problem is, if you and your friends, if you're a physician, an engineer, an attorney, something like that, and you decide to take over this 350 unit apartment complex with your group of friends, the problem you're going to run into is the financier is going to ask you a little question that a lot of coaching programs, they really gloss over. So this is the important bit. Who's your sponsor? Who's your KP? What's that all about? Well, the flaw with your little plan is that if you want to be eligible for a commercial loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset to prove to the bank you're not going to lose all the money. So that's called a sponsor or a KP, and they're in charge of having a balance sheet that's large and that sort of experience. And the other two things you're going to need, though, you're going to need a certain amount of liquidity to close the deal. And you're also going to have to need a balance sheet among the ownership team of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So, Aaron, I imagine that you're doing some repositioning. You're probably doing some local aspects. You're also doing some financier relations. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. Where do you see yourself fitting into your next deal most realistically?
I think you pretty much called it. I mean, my very first may well be boots on the ground for somebody else. But, I think that I, bring a decent skill set. I'm more than capable of, taking off this very comfortable t-shirt and looking, banker suitable to go in and have a little chit chat and, outline a deal. And if I have located a deal myself or another teammate has located a deal, the numbers work out when we underwrite them. And, we're on the path like, hey, we're somewhat subscribed and we're going to, be looking for the bank to kick in that 65, 70, 75%. I'm ready to talk. Let's talk turkey, baby.
All right,
Make everybody money.
Beautiful. So let's talk about unit count and things like that. So when different syndicators or investors are talking to each other and say, hey, what you're looking for, what's your buy box, what's your ideal property, we're really asking about three things. First one's geography. Where is it? Which state, what county, possibly even which neighborhood. That's absolutely going to matter if you're going to call it ideal. The second one's size. Now, most of my guests on Chance Encounters here are in multifamily commercial real estate, which means apartment complexes. And the way that you define size in an apartment complex is unit count. And the reason why that's super important is because you're going to have a completely different group of people taking over 10 unit apartment complexes compared to the 100, the 200 and so on apartment complexes, unit apartment complexes. But there are other types of commercial real estate like industrial, raw land deals, different things like that. Some of them go off of square footage, but that size is still absolutely going to matter. But the third thing, I call it desirability. Class is the more common term, but I don't like saying class because it's really split into two different things that are completely different. The first one is the condition and the second one is the area. And when you're talking about the condition, that has to do with how old is the building? How beat up is the building? Is it full of luxuries and amenities, or is it really a no frills kind of place? So that's the condition. But when you're talking about area, you're talking about things like crime rate where the property is located. And then the school separate districts where the property is located. But at the end of the day, when people say real estate is all about location, 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 what they really mean is it's about traffic, traffic, traffic. If more people pass by a property on every single day, then it's going to be more desirable than one that only gets a trickle of traffic. But both the area and the condition are rated the same way as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top, and then A minus, and then B plus, and so on down the line. So, Aaron, as far as you and your organization goes, I understand if you're more dependent on the sponsor, the deal sponsor themselves, and catching on that way. But I'm sure you have an aesthetic or something. What's easier for you to say yes to?
I like the idea of value add. So if I could find myself a C property in a B neighborhood, that would be the cherry on top, because we're going to turn our C property into a B property and it's already in a B neighborhood, then it's suitable. You can have that C property in a C neighborhood, buff it out to a B, but now it's the, prettiest pig in a pen. We don't necessarily, you can still win with that, but the big win would be, upgrading the ugly one in the nice neighborhood. So that's the home run.
And then as far as like states or counties, what do you have as far as that?
I'm based in Arizona, and it's pretty active here. I live just outside the exo metro of Phoenix, so I'm not right in it, but I'm nearby. But I'm almost halfway to Tucson, so I'm sort of suburban to both in a way. So in my mind, that's one market. I got to leave my house and drive an hour. So Tucson, Phoenix is to me is one market. If you're somewhere else, that might be two. So to me, that's one market. I'm researching them under the same heading, and then I've got a couple others I'm researching. I like Houston is huge, San Antonio, Oklahoma City. Those are three that I'm keeping an eyeball on. And I just got a hot tip. I can't tell you because my buddy would kill me.
Exactly.
He says he's the only fisherman in his particular pond. He says the pond is stocked, and I might have to have a look at that. So I don't if he's already fishing, getting ready to fish it, and he's tipped me off, I can't let everybody with a fishing pole show up. So
yeah, I got that. And then as far as the unit count, then what sort of size is ideal for you in your organization?
I would love to be able to say 200, little more, little less. You said 350. I mean, come on, baby. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, and the more that NOI bumps. If I can get that $25 a month rent increase, and I can save $15 a month per unit, and oh, baby.
All right. I love it. I love it. And that brings me to people. So, my favorite thing about commercial real estate is that because it's multifaceted, nobody's going to be all six sides of the die for any meaningful amount of time. And that means everybody is really eager to put together a new team, take down some new deals, or give referrals on other people's deals. And at the same time, though, because we all have our own unique skill sets, we're better off helping some people more than others. Me, I've got this massive marketing and tech background, so I'm always eager to find more sponsors and KPs because they've got the foundations already baked in where somebody like me can make a disproportionately large difference. Whereas when you're first getting started as a repositioner, you generally need grunts who can put in your 80 hours a week and whatnot. And that's not really a great mix for where I am. But of course, the locals are the other ones. But Aaron, I imagine you're pretty similar looking for the sponsors and KPs. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and don't mention any 506B deals or else the SEC will get ants in its pants. But who are you looking for in particular?
Well, again, if I can fill my role, if somebody's got a deal, they need somebody to do some interfacing with investors and or banks. I'm good with that. And, I've got math skills. My underwriting is still a work in progress, but I'm gonna have that buffed out. I want to have that be a kind of like it won't be like Superman. It won't be my number one power. It would be more like something on my Batman belt. If I need to break out my underwriting, bam! Like when when Batman threw the thing up over the top of the roof, he's climbing up like this with Robin.
Yep.
If I need to do some climbing and I got to break out my own underwriting skills for it, let's get to climbing. But that won't be necessarily my long-term role. I'd rather have somebody else who really enjoys watching those numbers move a little and the impacts or whatever. I like to be able to, look over their shoulder and make sure they didn't do it wrong. But if they got it right, let's go to town with it. Let's make it happen. Let's get to popping. Let's find out what's happening at the 406B after this, baby. Let's document the fact that, yeah, I know you. We played golf. We talked about it. We know what's up. And badinga, boom.
I love it. I love it. And that brings us to the last part, which is how to reach out. Me, I got this really distinct last name right here, so I'm really easy to find, especially on LinkedIn, where I spend most of my social media time. But if you scan this, I guess I gotta be on this side. If this QR code with your phone, that brings you to the FAQs page of 506BME, which is the platform where I offer that service of documenting your substantive relations so that your SEC attorney will be very happy with you because you've got it backed up. You've got proof that you actually knew people before you started sharing your private deals, because that's not okay with a 506B deal, which is the most common type of syndication. But as far as you go, Aaron, if people want to reach out to you, is there a website? Is there a social media platform, email, phone? How should people reach out?
I'm on Facebook. You can find me there, Aaron Patterson. And I've got a domain under review. I don't want to spit it now. I've got one, and it may well lead into my more preferred one, which I'm in negotiations with GoDaddy. Somebody bought the one that I want like a month ago. I can't believe it. So I'm trying to see if it won't cost me too much to buy it back. If it costs me too much, I might have to pivot to something else. So I don't want to promote something that might be a dead end. But who knows? Maybe I'll circle back in a month, talk to you, Dan, and I'll have an update.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. And that brings us to the last part. It's actually not for you, Aaron. It's for you in the audience. It's my public service announcement. The public service announcement is, if you've been watching this episode and you've been experiencing searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine like symptoms, I'm confident it's the hideous subscribe button that's just down there to blame. And you can get rid of that for free. You can just click on it. And of course, I'm eager to have people click on it, because if enough people do, then YouTube will actually start to pay for these videos instead of me. And I think that would be amazing. And as I mentioned, there's no cost to you. All it means is my videos may show up on your list of suggestions, though, but you can go ahead and ignore those suggestions, because quite frankly, I just really appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like Aaron, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been great getting to know you a little bit better.
Thank you, Dan. And this technology is exciting. And, as soon as I get out there, and probably the savvy play is just before I get out there talking to people, I will subscribe to your program. I will have this sort of documentation, because I would much rather spend one more day on the golf course meeting a high income performer who may well turn into a investor for me than answering subpoenas to the SEC. We don't want to play that game if at all possible.
That's exactly right. Awesome. This has been awesome. Thanks. Hey there. Are you interested in commercial real estate deals? Would you like to build your network of investors and deal sponsors? Well, the best thing I can do for you is have you appear on a chance encounter interview as featured on dandoesdeals.com. You may know me from 506BME or as a top commercial real estate voice on LinkedIn. And if I had to think of the top factors in your success in commercial real estate, my top two would be your network and your ability to effectively explain how deals work with effective communication. The 15-minute chance encounter format, it checks both of those boxes, and they ensure that you can share your private deals with me without the SEC calling it a public solicitation. So hop onto LinkedIn. You can see my name is over here, Dan Friedenberg, and search for my name. And the best way to reach me and book that is to message me through LinkedIn. And don't worry, it doesn't matter if you decided to enter this space just last week or 2 weeks ago, or if it was decades ago. It'll be fun and easy to look good. We're just asking multiple choice questions based on your core competencies you look to contribute, your level of sophistication, all that kind of stuff. So I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay. Are you already logged into 506BME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506BME, everybody.